You thinking moving on too?
What?
You thinking
Not
moving
moving on, but they were early, they were after me at the AMC conference
for?
Monty's already standing.
Oh,
for file for second vice.
oh,
We'll call to order the Benton County Board meeting for April 2nd. We'll start with Pledge Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Beth, roll call.
Sure. Commissioner Schlangen? Here. Commissioner Heinen?
Here.
Commissioner Kapinski?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
here.
Commissioner Pop?
Here.
All right. Approve the agenda. Monty, do you got any ads?
So, Mr. Chair, we understand that the public hearing that's actually appearing on your ditch authority instead should be conducted by county board. And this is on the, am I saying this correctly, Beth? The agenda item here?
Yes.
Okay. I see Chris has joined us, so we want to move that to right before commissioner meeting updates on county board. I wanted to pose the question to Chris, and maybe we can resolve that between now and when that issue occurs, is whether or not this was properly noticed. I know it wasn't published in the newspaper as we typically would, and I believe in the conversation I had with Chris this morning, we instead needed to actually post the notice in our bulletin board. I understand that did not occur. So I guess I would suggest between now and the time that this comes up, maybe Chris could confer with Michelle and get a recommendation on whether or not this was actually properly noticed. If it wasn't, then probably we should reschedule it for another time. Chris, did you pick up all that?
Yes, I did hear that. And I see Christine joined the line too. I found some additional correspondence after we spoke, Monty.
Okay.
And I believe that it was supposed to be posted in the newspaper as well.
Okay.
I don't know if that occurred. I found some, like I said, some correspondence with some posting language that could have been sent to the newspaper. So we'll confirm for sure before the agenda item comes up whether the proper notices had been completed.
Thank you. Okay.
We'll add that, and then if we have to table it, we can.
Yes,
Then
yes, sir.
table it
Yep.
at that
Other than that, we have no other changes.
Okay.
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Okay, you got a motion and a second. Approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Same sign. Okay. All right, county board meetings are broadcast live and video recorded on YouTube. Please refrain from speaking from the audience area and come to the podium so that viewers can hear you. The county board observes Robert's Rules of Order for its meetings, so please obtain the board's consent for addressing the county board. Public comments are generally reserved for the open forum segment or public hearings. However, public comment on other agenda items can be allowed at the discretion of the board chair. As we begin today, please turn off your cell phones or turn them to vibrate. Thank you. Open forum. Is there anybody? Okay, nobody. We got the consent agenda, items 1 through 9.
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
Second?
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve consent agendas, items 1 through 9. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Perfect timing. We're at Monty and Department of Corrections Comprehensive Plan for Benton County.
I believe Deb is here. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Deb.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about the comprehensive plan. So this is a first for Benton County with the new funding formula. We now do the comprehensive plans that are, sorry. We do the comprehensive plan now based on the new funding formulas. So we present these to the board and for approval. And And then it's every 4 years, so this is new, and then every 2 years we review them to see if there's any changes. So my understanding is you all have a copy of it. Yes. Okay. I will just hit some highlights through the plan and answer any questions you might have. In the introduction, I just basically talk about what Benton County's made, the make of Benton County. And one of the highlights I would like to show is our homelessness population and the large increase that we see in the greater St. Cloud metro area, which Benton County is a part of that. So when you look at the numbers, it's high, but it also includes Sherburne and Stearns, Benton, Morrison, and part of Mille Lacs. It's just a greater metro area, and they don't break it down by much. But we do have a large population of homelessness in our Benton County area. So, and a significant increase. And really the biggest thing is our shelter. Our loss of shelters have caused, in a point-in-time count, the significance that there is a lot of unsheltered. So as shelters open up, maybe we had 2 shut down last year. So that caused an increase in sheltered amount of people. So then it really goes through the race and geography of Benton County. Benton County is basically served by the felony office in St. Cloud and the misdemeanor, gross misdemeanor, and juvenile office out here in Foley, as well as a ISR for our intensive supervised release population for Benton County that is serviced out of the Roseville office of supervised release. And we have a team of 4 agents that supervise the Benton County rotation area for intensive supervised release. And you'll see that the org chart is broken out. That is basically my district. And so you'll see what Benton County has and what Mille Lacs has. That's my primary district. And we're responsible, again, for the felony and supervised release, and then the juvenile, misdemeanor, and gross misdemeanor population in Benton County. We also receive a large amount of transfers from other agencies that we supervise, other counties, because of a lot of times it's our services that are in St. Cloud and they stay here. So we see some of that. Or, we have mobility with our clients. They're all over the state. They go from one area to another and they just settle in Benton. So supervision gets transferred here and we supervise them for other counties. So we do get a large amount of transfers in. The advisory board is made of Commissioners Steve Heinen and Commissioner Gopinski. Our judge is Judge Raup. Judge Jesse has retired, so we'll see who his replacement is. They are in the process. I believe they have interviews this week, their first round. And then our county attorney Carl Schmidt, our public defender is Robert O'Malley, and then his chief supervisor is Douglas Carlson. Law enforcement includes Sheriff Heck and the Sauk Rapids Police Chief Perry Bicey. And then court administration is Megan Bergman and Samantha Hickman, and human services is Sandy Schoberg and Nicole Knowles. And the jail, Charlene Novak and David Kiki. And mental health is Shannon Link and Victoria Flanagan. They serve on our Criminal Justice Advisory Board, and we're the first to review the plan and approved it coming forward to the board today. And you'll just see the breakout of what DOC training requirements are. All of our agents go through an academy when they're first hired, so they learn all the evidence-based processes when we work with clients, and then anything that is task-orientated, such as predatory offender registration, sentencing guidelines, safety, all of those other pieces. And there's an attachment in the appendix that shows you the training requirements. So the overview of the supervision population, really the state strategic planning at the level is to start using normative feedback and evidence-based practices in how we supervise clients. We've been doing that for a little while, but this is just the first time you see it on paper form. So the district has an implementation team that includes our agents and myself to start doing the implementation of our evidence-based practices and working with our clients, making sure we're doing cognitive skills-based programming, interventions with the clients, and all our agents do provide that. We talked about the Council of State Government was a big study done to make sure that supervision statewide looks the same wherever you go. We are still in that process, but there are some key things that came out of that, and a lot of it is making sure that we are all doing the same risk assessments and that we are doing case management, that we can transfer back and forth, people will get the same supervision wherever they go. So that's an ongoing process, and they are on, they will be doing studies on what we're doing now and setting those state parameters of what we're going to do for supervision, no matter where you are within the state. Our strategic planning for the local level is really taking what the state has and applying it to what we have in the local level and what we can work on as a county. And so what I did list the state or our strategic plan for Benton County, which is really the collaboration with local resources to reduce the increasing homelessness in our greater Benton County area. Address mental health population, which is prevalent in our jails and in our supervision clients. And really maybe look at trying to find some funding for a mental health navigator within our jail. And to work with the Benton County Action Team to increase our services to that sector, because if we can do some preventative work in front of everything, maybe we can stop some inclusion into the criminal justice system. And then finding alternative resources in the community to reduce juvenile detention. And as you know, for juvenile detention is a lot. We have a lot of kids, high-level crimes and mental health that have increased our detention costs. And that's a population that's really hard to navigate sometimes because we never know in a given year our detention can drop and then it can skyrocket. We've just seen such an increase over the last 2 years. COVID did not do us any help in all of this as juveniles come through our system. I think we still have impact from that in what our juveniles are experiencing. And then finally, really to expand the availability of our cognitive skills programs that we offer. We currently do groups and decision points and thinking forward change. And I would like to go back to instilling our domestic violence intervention program that we had been doing, and that kind of ended at COVID time, and then we had people move on, so I need to train new people to get that program going. It was a really good program. It was effective for a population that really doesn't have a ton of money, but we can provide that service. So I'm hoping to start that again. With regards to COG program, within my district, I have 17 agents that are trained in facilitation of any one given program. And I have 4 right now that we can do, which is the MRT, which is moral recognition, and decision points, thinking for a change, and then we also do carry guides on an individual basis. So that's a good start. Having 17 agents, we can facilitate interchangeably. And so I do see an increase in how we do our intervention programming. Pre-trial and diversion services, we do have a juvenile diversion program. Our pre-trial is pretty limited. We don't do a lot of interventions in that area. We try where we can to help out, but given caseload sizes, the pre-trial is not something we spend most of our resources on. In the future, I would like to see us increase that to assist with the BCAT team as we move forward. We have a lot of pretrial clients that could use significant interventions. So that's where we are with the pretrial. Our core interventions, as I talked about, was really our assessments. We use our risk needs assessment, which is the LSCMI. That will be statewide coming forward. We're going to norm it for the state of Minnesota. So everybody in the state will be using the same assessment tool. So that's forthcoming. That is a tool that is used to determine our risk, our supervision criteria, from low to very high supervision. We also have the domestic violence inventory, which we use with our domestic clients to supplement our LSCMI. And we are moving to exploring the impaired driving assistance for our assessment for our DWI offenders to also be a trailer tool with our LSCMI. So that's forthcoming. We have an agent that serves on that committee, so I anticipate we will be piloting it here in Benton County within a year or so. Our supervision risk levels are medium, medium-high, and high-risk clients, and based on our risk assessment, that determines how they are supervised. We also do our cognitive intervention programs with our medium and medium-high-risk clients. So they get the services the most. Minimum risk clients, evidence suggests that we spend little time in doing intervention services, but referring them to their needed programs such as chemical dependency or mental health services. They really don't need that strong intervention piece, as they can usually navigate that on their own. But at times, medium risk people present behaviors that requires increased supervision, and we do increase supervision based on current behaviors that are being exhibited and try to get them maintained. So sometimes they do move up in our supervision level. So I talked a little bit about our 2 cognitive behavioral programs that we do. We currently facilitate decision points, thinking for a change. Kind of the difference is that decision points is more open-ended and open exit. They come in and come out in their 8 sessions usually. Those are usually the ones we start with first. And then our thinking for a change is a 25-week program, which is closed-ended. And so if we need to move them further into cognitive programming, we move them into thinking for a change. And as I talked before, our domestic abuse intervention program is on hold yet, but we hope to start that within the next couple years. Next year, I'm hoping, is really what I like. I love that program. I like to facilitate it myself. So I'd like to see that start. We also do the carry guides, which are an individual intervention program that we work with clients on specific behaviors that they might need work on. Mental health, gender, housing, we really spend time working, referring clients to specific programs based on their responsivity needs. And homelessness, we try really hard to find shelter care for our clients. We really work hard on the housing piece as well, and wherever we can get somebody in, we really work hard at that. Our felony clients have access to some funding, but it's limited, and it's maybe for a month's rent. So those beds are a premium because Stearns also taps into them as well as Sherburne. So we work hard at getting them in a place so that we all know that when you can feel sheltered, you have much more success. So we work hard at that. Our caseloads are, they're high right now. We're working at trying to do some movement in how we do supervision so we can maintain good services. We also get a lot of transfers in, as I talked about, from other areas. St. Cloud provides a lot of services that people like, and so then they come up here for our treatment. And some of our sober housing, so that then they move here and then we supervise for them. But we do a lot of pre-sentence reports for the courts. They have a lot of cases that come through too, so that increases our caseloads as we move forward. A lot of things that we do that are intervention based, and we do early discharges based on clients really working the program, doing what they need to do, and having
focusing on their behavior change. We do early discharge, and the courts support that. Clients aren't discharged if they're not doing what they need to do, and so we continue to supervise those. We work again on skill development. Use community interventions wherever we can. Juveniles often have a lot of, we kind of struggle in the juvenile intervention world. I think we have limited resources with treatment programming for our juveniles. So it's, we're trying to maximize all community resources before we move into doing any type of out-of-home placements. So we do try to do that very well. Victim concerns, we use the Benton County Victim Services Assistant to help us with victim needs. We also use the shelters that are around here as well. You'll see that our correctional fees on page 9 are from 22. And at some point, supervision fees will sunset based on the new funding. I think it's in 2025 that they sunset. I have not received verification of that. We haven't been collecting supervision fees for felony clients, but the misdemeanor and gross misdemeanor clients do still get a supervision fee, and those go into the county budget, a portion of it, and a portion of it goes to our random testing program. Contracted services, we mostly contract anything that we do with Minnesota Monitoring for our random testing programming and our electronic home monitoring. Having all of Benton County clients within that agency allows for a reduced fee. But most of our programming we do in-house. Outside of that, we don't contract for COG programming, we do it ourselves, which is unique in a lot of counties. They contract those services, but we do them. Our STS program for the county is through the Sheriff's Department. We have that access and availability too. So on page 10, you see a budget. Again, that's a budget based on our current funding and our current contracts. Most of my budget is really salary and detention increases. I don't spend a lot of money outside of that. So really the highlight is Benton has a lot of programming availability through their agents, and we work hard to try to give you the best service we can. We continue to increase our cognitive programming, and we have one agent that does a partial veterans court with Stearns County, and that's Tim Hoover. He has been our representative on that veterans court, and I think we have 1 or 2 clients through them as a partnership. And then attached is all the appendixes that show our current caseloads, our current numbers of supervision and training, and anything else really related to supervision is based on your attachments. Do you have any questions for me? I kind of went through fast.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair, Deb, just to verify, you did say 2 clients with the Veterans Court?
Yeah, there's about 2 clients right now currently with the Veterans Court. They were specifically, what happens in those cases is Benton hears the clients and they recommend they participate in the Veterans Court. So we still supervise, but Tim addresses them in the Veteran Court, and then we do what we need to do, but we allow them to go through the Veterans Court portion. So we maintain supervision. He represents, he's the agent then with those clients.
And so when you say 2, that's, 2 that you're dealing with right now, but
2
that
right
number
now.
fluctuates.
Oh, yes, it
all-
can fluctuate. This is a snapshot. 2.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we've had up to, at one point we had about 4 at one time. 2 felony and 2 gross misdemeanors. So we work with Stearns in how we supervise that.
Okay.
Because it's a little bit more intense, and then if, like, for, let's say a violation occurs, they come back to Benton. They are not heard in Stearns Court. So we try to facilitate that process.
Okay.
And it seems to be working right now. We'll see if, you know, if there's an increase of veterans in the court, then we'll have to look at something looks a little different, but.
Sure, thank you.
Make it work. We try to use whatever we can.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, it looks awesome that it's so detailed and programmed and very well done.
Thank you. My first try, so.
Did you need the board to approve the plan?
Yes, I would need a board resolution. What happens then is I send this down to the state so they're aware what we're working on here.
Do you have a resolution template you could provide us, and I could have that on a future agenda? I didn't have a resolution for this particular packet.
Okay,
Or could it just simply be a motion? Does it
I
need
think
to
it
be a
just needs to be
resolution?
I think it just needs to be a
A
motion
motion, okay,
of
that's great,
approval.
yeah.
And then,
Support.
Yep.
Yeah.
What would the board like to do?
Okay, I'll make a motion to support and approve the DLC comprehensive plan for Benton County.
Second?
Okay, we got a motion and a second to support the DOC comprehensive plan for Benton County. Any communication? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Deb.
thank you so much
Great
for
job.
giving me a time. Thank you.
Sheriff Heck. Consider the proclamation for National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Benton County.
Thank you. Yes. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
It's my honor to stand before you today and ask you to support the proclamation recognizing National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Benton County. The week of April 14th, April 20th this year has been set aside to recognize our nation's first responders. These are the men and women that work in our public safety answering points all throughout the state, nation, and specifically here in Benton County. They're the folks that answer non-emergency and emergency telephone calls. They take in just loads of information that comes into our PSAP every day. They have to be aware of the situation happening out around them, take in the information that's coming to them, and get the proper public safety response out to people to help them. It's a very challenging job. It's extremely rewarding job. These folks have the ability to touch people's lives in a way that very few have the honor and privilege of doing. They are that voice of calm in the storm. They're the point of order in chaos. When people are having their worst day, they're that hand to reach out and help them. The folks that work in this position, again, they are true multitaskers. They have to be listening simultaneously to somebody on the telephone, watching perhaps cars move on the map, answering radio, deciding what is the best public safety service for folks, and just a whole list of things that go on and on. In the chain of public safety, they are one of the key links, and without having them and their work in place, none of the public safety architecture that is out there could function. If you can imagine, if any of you have been into our PSAP and had a look at all the information that comes in there, if you haven't done that, you should stop by sometime. We'd be happy to show it to you. But there is an array of information coming in. There's 4 or 5 computer screens. There's at least 4 or 5 radio channels talking at all times, and there's telephones constantly ringing. And again, that public safety telecommunicator serves as the bottom of the funnel where all that information comes to. That person has to make intelligent decisions about who needs to know what and what information needs to go where in order for this system to continue to function. So we are extremely grateful for the dedicated work that our 9 public safety telecommunicators do over in our sheriff's office, and we hope to recognize their work and everything they do for us with the proclamation that's in your packet.
I've definitely toured that a few times with our fire department, and it is absolutely amazing what they handle, especially when when there's a major incident going on.
And it always amazes me that are there 7 different agencies? Is that the number that they're watching?
Yeah, I'd say at least there's, all 3 fire departments, 4 law enforcement agencies, plus you throw in there some EMS, it's 7 to 10 at any one point in time.
That is amazing. And I've had the opportunity to be over there too. It's well worth it.
And then you run in mutual aid and dispatch, so when Sauk Rapids gets paged to Sherburne County, they're in the loop as well. So there's a lot of intricacies that happen in that department.
Indeed.
All right. Mr. Chair, I'll make a proclamation to designate the week of April 14th to the 20th of 2024 as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, and
Give
tell
our
them.
thanks to your staff.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, Roxanne.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners.
Morning.
Before you, we have a request to apply for a grant for, through the state, and it's for Public Land Survey System monumenting. This would be primarily conducted with Jay, our county surveyor, and with the assistance of Scott Zwick, our GIS coordinator. The idea is to update the data standards, which are something that the state has in place. And we anticipate that down the line, eventually, we would have to update these data standards anyways. So we figure if there's a grant available, let's apply for that and see if we can at least get some of that time compensated for. So we are applying for $50,000. That's the minimum amount that a county can request. And the idea is to, it would be a reimbursement process. So we'd have to incur the work, request reimbursement through the state. But other than that, we need a resolution from the county board that they agree to the stipulations within the grant. If awarded the grant, then we would move forward with the grant agreement. It's a relatively competitive grant. There's $9.1 million available, and there's around $16 million in requests sitting out there. Surprisingly, out of the 87 counties, I think there was, I have the report here somewhere, but a significant number of counties have actually posted their intent to apply for these funds. And we believe that with that significant request from the state for those funds, there's likely to be other opportunities in the future, possibly this fall or next year, if we do not get these funds this year.
Mr. Chair, Roxanne, when do you think you'll know about that?
They have a specific deadline. Let's see. They are looking at announcements by April 30th of who will receive the grants.
Okay. Great.
Pretty quick turnaround for our grants.
Yeah. What would the board like to do?
Make a motion. To consider resolution authorizing approval of the Public Works and Land Service to submit an application to the state of Minnesota for funds through the Public Land Survey System Monument Grant.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Seems like a no-brainer to me.
Right, yeah.
Anybody else have anything?
Thank you for
Mr.
going
Chair.
on this.
Yeah.
So Roxanne, would we probably have to do this anyway down the road?
Possibly.
Yeah.
It's hard to say if the state will mandate updating to those data points, but
Usually if they're giving grant money, there's a mandate coming down the.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, you'd think, sorry, Mr. Chair,
Nope.
you'd think if there was a mandate coming down the
Yeah.
pipeline that they
Yeah.
would be throwing the money at us
Yeah.
first, you know.
fortunately, we are in a better position than most counties.
Okay.
Okay,
So
Good,
well, good, I'm glad to be ahead of this game, a
exactly.
little bit anyway.
For once, we're ahead of the game.
Well, we got a motion and a second. Any other communication? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
thank you.
Thank you, Roxanne.
Thanks, Roxanne. Good luck.
Yep, good luck.
Okay, Sandy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
As Deb mentioned earlier, and as you all know, homelessness has become an increasing issue in our county and in our city, St. Cloud. As a part of that, the city of St. Cloud has been working with Avivo to open a new homeless shelter, which they recently approved the plans for. A couple weeks ago, Nikki Knowles and I toured Avivo down in Minneapolis. It was very impressive. We were impressed with what we saw. So we asked them here today to talk to you and give you some preliminary information about that shelter. And I think, Beth, can you help us pull that up? And then we had a last minute change in who was doing the speaking. So Sheila is filling in for the CEO of Avivo.
Good morning. I'll just introduce
Good morning.
myself.
Morning.
I'm Sheila Delaney. I have been a consultant with Avivo, primarily focused on Avivo Village, the shelter, for about 4 years. And our president, Kelly Matter, really wanted to be here today, but something unavoidably came up and she couldn't make it. So I'm happy to be here with you. And the presentation is just a general overview of how Avivo Village is a little bit different than, a typical shelter. We're going to talk about a bit about what we're doing in Minneapolis, but we're going to focus more on what we're proposing to do in St. Cloud, and this is just for your information. I do have 2 videos in this presentation, but I'm not going to play them. They're really for your information to enter into the public record. I want to make sure, I can see we're a little bit behind on the agenda, and I want to make sure we're on time. So. I think you all are familiar with Avivo because Avivo is your MFIT provider. And all of Avivo's work is focused on increasing wellness through recovery, career advancement, and while ending homelessness. So in everything we do, we provide a continuum of care, and that philosophy is carried over into Avivo Village. It's okay. Always happens. There's always a minute. And I don't know, I've never attended your board meeting before, but if you have questions as I'm speaking, I'm comfortable addressing them, so.
Great, thank you.
Is it out there on what we call presenter shared?
I'm trying to get it.
Where's it really?
Yeah,
Presenter shared?
it was.
There we go.
We got her.
Hey,
Right.
all right, you
Thank
can
you,
see it,
ladies.
I can
Yep.
see it, okay. And you can hear me all right?
Mhm.
Okay, so as I mentioned, I've been so lucky to be a consultant to Avivo because I was part of the team that first formed Avivo Village. Avivo has been in your community since 1989, and we really just work on the whole person, and we have a continuum of care approach. We address really complex issues. Unsheltered homelessness is an incredibly complex issue. Do I advance here? Okay.
You probably have to scroll maybe.
Okay. Oh, worked. As I mentioned, we are the MFIT provider for not only Benton, but a lot of other counties and a lot of counties in central Minnesota. I mentioned our mission. Again, we take a holistic approach, and that is what we do in Avivo Village as well. I don't need to tell you that the work we do is needed now more than ever. You just had a presentation about the increasing needs in your community, specifically around housing, the intersection of mental health issues, and people who are formerly incarcerated. And honestly, the increase of the acuity across all people who are afflicted with these sorts of conditions is just greatly increased. And I know you are aware, but this is something that we have seen since opening Avivo Village in Minneapolis. We thought that we were dealing with a lot of challenging issues in 2020, and that acuity keeps increasing. So what is Avivo Village? The primary, when you think of a typical homeless shelter, in general, you would think of a congregate shelter where people are in one room. In 2020, when unsheltered homelessness became really visible in Minneapolis, we talked with people, providers, people who were experiencing homelessness about what was keeping them outdoors. And so we created a facility specifically targeting those barriers. So Avivo is highly staffed, professionally run. It offers a low barrier to entry. That could mean people might have mental health challenges. They might have substance use challenges. Some people stay outside because they will not leave their pet. So we want to make sure we make it as easy as possible for people to take that next positive step. We were told when one of the biggest challenges when people are living outdoors is accessing the services that are in fact available to them for a variety of reasons. So we bring those services on site. So we wrap people around with the services they need. And in Minneapolis, those include some culturally specific services, and also increasingly nursing care and health care. We bring people on site with that as well. The whole goal is to take the next positive step. It is a low barrier to entry, but it's not a situation where you can just come and park yourself, for lack of a better word. We engage people in a sort of motivational interviewing. So we make sure that people know that we accept them as they are. We give them the time they need to stabilize. You know, if you think about it, people who are living outdoors, they're not sleeping very well. They're not eating very well. So when they come inside, sometimes they sleep for a couple of days. But we let them have the time they need so that their brains come back online and they can start making decisions, see positive opportunities, and move towards them. So this is what Nikki and Sandy visited. This is a Vivo Village in Minneapolis. So as you see, it's really the community setting, the ability to lock your door, the ability to be part of community, but also have your space that really works for people. And you can see that we've had a lot of dogs in a Vivo Village. This is one of the videos that I'm not going to show, and basically wanted to switch to how did we get here? Why are we proposing this in St. Cloud? And this is we're in a conceptual design phase, so this is just the conceptual drawing of what the facility will likely look like, give or take. So we were invited by St. Cloud elected officials and community members last winter. They were focused on Lincoln Center, which is in York County, and they wanted to see if the Vivo model could work here. And as you know, I don't need to tell you, this issue is increasingly difficult in this area. So throughout the entirety of the last year, but primarily summer and fall, we worked with the city to make an application to the state of Minnesota for shelter infrastructure funding. It was extremely competitive, and I think we were successful because the city of St. Cloud was so easy to coordinate with. And also, you are a regional hub, and you are impacted by this issue, and the state sees that. And then the other advantage we had is the state came forward with a match to the funding. That was by law that prioritized our application. So we were initially provided with $6 million. The state had so many great projects, but only $98 million to fund things. And every project didn't receive their full funding. But the good news is that the state has come back and has provided us with an additional $1.65 million. So we have now an award of $7.65 million. We are still finishing our contracting with the state. That should be concluded by April 8th. Let me see, where do we want it? So what worked really well in Minneapolis, because people have questions if especially a new facility comes to be their neighbor. They want to know, how will this impact them? So we created what we call, I think it's pretty frequently referred to as this in other cities, but it's a good neighbor working group. So that group in Minneapolis we met with them well before our renovation of the Minneapolis facility was completed. And it was just a really transparent way, an agreement between Avivo and the neighbors to say, hey, if there are concerns, how do we address them? What if I have a concern at 1 a.m.? What if I have a concern for someone down the street and I wonder if Avivo can reach them? How do I know I can get communication? And secondly, if there are concerns or issues, how will they be addressed? What is the accountability? So we want to do the same thing here. As you know, the St. Cloud City Council did award us an approval to enter into lease negotiations for our site. And also, they approved the funding, which is actually CDBG funds and state affordable housing allocation. I think that's the last day. So it's state funding and federal dollars that the city is allocating towards this project. We want to keep working with you. We have just recently been connecting with your staff, but that is our plan, to really work closely with you. We are not duplicating services. And the whole reason Avivo Village is successful in Minneapolis is that we coordinate those various services so that people can get in, stabilize, and then move on. So what does this mean for your community? We're proposing 56 units. The number was determined by a team of providers, community members, and we think it's suitable. Some people feel like, why such a low number? But we think it's much better to promote community with a smaller number of people. And the goal is to move people through quickly so that those units turn over and more people can be served. So there's an axiometric view. Please ask questions, but it's based on what we did in Minneapolis. Because we get to build new, we can really improve, especially the operational costs, because we're building to an incredibly high level of sustainability. The building will be either net zero or close to net zero. Also, we will create an incredibly durable environment, which is very, very helpful. And we will have a master lease with the city of St. Cloud. We're still negotiating, but it looks like 20 years with an additional 20 years. But one thing the state did that I think was very smart is it asked us all to say, hey, when we end unsheltered homelessness, what does this building become? So this will remain a community asset. We don't know exactly what you're going to need in 40 years or 20 years. But and also the state stipulates that it must be operated as a shelter for 5 years from the time we open. So that's an interior view of the unit. That's the vision for what the inside would look like. There's some great videos that I encourage you to watch. We work very closely with Minneapolis Police Department, and we really developed a great relationship, in particular with retired Commander Grant Schneider. He loves to talk to anybody about this model, so he's a great resource. So our next steps is just this: coordinating with you, learning from you. Your needs are similar to the Minneapolis needs, but they're different. For example, in Minneapolis, we have a significant number of people who are eligible for Indian Health care, Indian Health Board care. And that's just not the case in this community for the people that are experiencing these issues. So we know you have a lot of people. We've heard veterans are we're still not connecting them all the time. But we need to hear from you. Who we're targeting. The way people get into a Vivo Village is a little bit unusual. They cannot come to the front door. If people come to our front door, of course we provide them with referrals and services, but we use street outreach teams. And in Minneapolis, we have 10 referring teams. Here, we think you have existing teams. We think possibly emergency responders could be a referral team. And so the process is a street outreach person identifies a person that meets the qualifications, meaning other shelters really haven't worked for them, or they have other needs that will be met at a Vivo Village. Then that street outreach team refers them to a Vivo. If there's space, they bring them right to the facility and they come in. So there's not a congregation of people on the street. And it's very targeted. It's extremely secure, 24/7 staffing, security, all 24/7. So we're really excited. And we want to answer your questions, and that's what I've got for today.
Mr. Chair, Sheila, talking about the funding, so you got that $7.65 million, and I'm assuming that's for the facility, of building the facility and
That's
everything?
only the capital cost.
So after that's all said and done and you start opening, where does the funding come?
Yes. So one of the primary sources that we use and will use is housing support dollars. So because we're locating in Stearns County, we are beginning conversations about having a housing support contract with them. We also have, there's other funding that comes along with individuals depending on their needs. In Minneapolis, we also receive some CDBG funding for operations. We do have other contracts with the state and Department of Human Services. Generally speaking, we love donations and philanthropy, but this is a big lift. We need help we need these contracts and a good relationship with all the counties. So,
Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
So is the $7.65 million, is that enough to completely fund this project, or is there going to be?
For the capital?
Yeah.
Well, this is where we're at. We were mandated to provide a 10% contingency on all line items. So that's baked in there. But we're really at conceptual design. We are not even at schematic design. And actually, the funding that the city moved forward on is going to fund this next step. It's possible we may have a gap. We don't know yet. We're going to certainly try not to.
If you do have a gap, where's the funding expected to come from?
We're going to ask our partners. We're learning, I should say. We're learning the distinction between the three counties, and we're learning what your priorities are and your resources are. So we would coordinate with you. We are talking with Stearns and Sherburne counties as well. Part of the challenge in Minneapolis is that we're in a rented space that's a renovated book warehouse, and it's extremely expensive to operate. That is our biggest burden, and we know, because we're working with experts in the field, that we will have a very, very low operating cost. And we will have a lease with the city, but it's nothing like the lease we have in Minneapolis.
So the other question I have is that once it's up and running, what is the commitment of the county? What's the county gonna have to supply, or are we gonna have to add staff or anything like that?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I don't think you need to add staff. I think what Avivo's very good at doing is coordinating with the resources that we have. We need your support. We're not exactly sure what we're going to need, but no one has committed anything to us at this point, so.
And then my other question was, how long is the average stay?
Yeah, that's a great question. It does fluctuate. The average stay is about 4 months right now in Minneapolis. And in Minneapolis, we don't call it a waiting list, we call it an interest list, and we always have between 200 and 300 people on that list. So we are very motivated to help people move on.
I guess my concern is that this is located in Benton County, and
it's going to be in Stearns County.
It's Stearns.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes things a little better for me.
But with that said, I think this homeless issue is a tri-county
It
issue.
is, but we know what the past has had.
Yeah.
To walk cautiously in a situation like this.
Yeah.
I understand the comment, sir. We pride ourselves on being a great neighbor. In fact, neighbors from the North Loop of Minneapolis came to testify on our behalf to the city council. So we would not do this if we didn't think we could succeed. And we also know the need is great. And we have 4 years of proven experience. We're upheld as a national model. The city of New Orleans was encouraged to replicate this. They're not there yet, but these are all legitimate. That's part of the good neighbor process, is having these open conversations about concerns, past experiences that are not related to Avivo, but maybe you're wondering if something's going to go that direction. We're very confident, and again, it's a professionally run facility and it has the resources it needs to do it well.
Okay. Mr. Chair, Sheila, a couple questions. You had referenced this is a 56-bed facility. Can I ask how you got to that number, and maybe this is a question for Sandy or Nikki, but what do we assume the tri-county population of homelessness is?
That number was primarily a product of conversations with healthcare outreach providers in terms of really looking at, and also we did speak quite a bit with the St. Cloud PD around the need that they're seeing. And this facility is specifically targeting people who fall through the cracks, who maybe they're not, for whatever reason, the existing shelters don't work for them. We really try hard in Minneapolis. If somebody is comfortable and their needs are met in another shelter, we really want them to go there, because we're really specifically targeting this population of people who, for whatever reason, the traditional model is not working. So we think the 56 beds is an appropriate number. We think it's a good number to build community. In Minneapolis, we have 100 beds, but we divide them into quarters because, sociologically speaking, and just trying to run a place speaking, 25 to 30 is a great target, and 56 is the number that we heard from people that was what you needed. Also, we had a really challenging time finding a site, and so that was part of it too.
Okay, and then also I'm sure we can share this PowerPoint with us.
Oh yeah, that's yours, and please watch the videos. It tells you a lot.
Okay, thank you, Sheila.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
Where is the site located?
Right on 30, I should have memorized the address. I
Is it
could
in
see
the
it.
Costco, near Costco?
Yeah, it's right next to the credit union and across from Brigette's Cafe.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's city-owned property. We made an offer on another property that's across the street from Catholic Charities, and our offer was met with a counter that was twice the price, and we can't pay an inflated price because we deal with public dollars.
Yep.
It's kind of the northeast quadrant of that.
Yep, I think I can show you.
Sandy, how much will this alleviate like the Lincoln Place and everything like that?
It is the same population that Lincoln serves, so I don't know what to say about that, but I mean, it's the same population, it's the exact same population.
And actually, it was board members of Lincoln Center who initially contacted us because we know we had a very similar situation in Minneapolis. We had an all-volunteer urgently stood up shelter in 2020, and it was run by volunteers. And in fact, my involvement began with that because a charitable foundation was asked to try to stabilize that situation. And so what we saw from that is that this is too big of a task for volunteers. And even if those volunteers are highly skilled, it's just too much. And so I do see parallels between that experience and your experience of Lincoln Center. And we also know that Harry and his team have really helped people, but we do know that it is very difficult to manage a facility like this based on volunteer power.
Mr. Chair, is it a vacant lot or is there a building?
It's a grassy lot. It's on the stormwater detention pond. I'm sorry, I thought I had a better picture of where it is, but it's so if you're looking at the same image I am. So the sort of where it drops off is the pond, and so you'll see there's fenced in space for people to be outside. You'll see that the glass in the center looks out to the pond, but then the entrance would be right across the street from Brigette's.
I imagine you have a kitchen or something like that?
Good question. No, we don't want to do that.
Okay.
We don't want to do that. We don't want to use space in that way. And in Minneapolis, we have an amazing provider, and we've already had some conversations with possible providers here, and it works really well. And it's just from a health and safety standpoint, and life safety issues are paramount in these sorts of facilities. So we just like to keep it simple and focus on what we're there to do.
Is there like family quarters, or are they just single bed?
They're just single beds, but what's interesting about that is that sometimes people have chosen family and they're couples, but we only have one individual per unit. They're certainly allowed to do what they need to, be together, but they each get their own space.
Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me again, Kelly.
Great presentation. I think it's going to go over very well.
Thank you so much. And Kelly really does look forward to meeting with you, and she was sorry she couldn't be here, but I got to be here, and I've enjoyed talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you for all the information. Appreciate it.
All right. Moving on, Benton County Local Advisory Committee to present needs assessment and speaker from Solutions to Highlight Area Program.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Commissioners. I feel like we've been talking a lot about mental health and homeless today in the board meeting, so it's been pretty interesting and right up my alley. So I'm here to present about the local mental health advisory committee. We are required by statute to present our needs assessment to the board. So we are a group that meets quarterly. It's a group of area mental health providers and consumers to discuss area needs in Benton County, and then it also expands into our St. Cloud area. One thing I wanted to talk about was something that is going well with the expansion of the broadband. That has been huge for mental health. One area that we definitely lack is transportation and be able to have clients access mental health. So with the expansion of broadband and the approval of telehealth, more people in rural areas are able to access mental health services just via the internet. So that has been a great thing in Benton County for our clients. A couple areas of needs. I just want to focus on three of them. One of them is housing. So Sheila is here to talk about our homeless population, what we're doing in that area moving forward, and then also just low income housing. We really struggle with families being able to get in. We just closed out our community living infrastructure grant that we had received that funded both direct assistance and part of our homeless outreach. We spent just over $75,000 in our Benton County area to house people that are either homeless, doubled up, or not being able to afford that first month's rent damage deposit. We also helped out with some utilities, so people need to be able to not get those disconnects from their electric company. So that was a very big grant that I know we will miss, our financial unit will miss, because it was nice to be able to call and help those people to prevent those evictions. Another area that is an area of need is transportation. I think that has been ongoing for a very long time, living in rural, be able to people get into the community to receive their mental health services. We are always looking at that area, trying to find other providers or how we can get people in to close that gap or at least minimize that gap, but that is definitely an area. And the last one that I was going to talk about was just mental health services in general. There has been a significant loss of both mental health providers in the area and an increase in people needing those services. So our gaps are getting bigger. It has helped with the telehealth, but I think people still have the need to want services in person. And so there's huge waiting lists as we're doing referrals. People are really struggling with trying to get 2, 3, 4, 5 months to be able to get in to see a mental health therapist. And then when you're looking more for specific, if they want male or female or a certain age, then we're really struggling with that as well. Just a couple services that have closed recently. Children's services, residential, we've seen across the state, there's been several beds that have closed in residential care. I think from the time when I first started 17 years ago and to now, it's really shifted. Before, providers would come to us and beg us for kids, beg us, who do you guys have that would be able to meet our needs? Now it's really shifted to where we are begging them, what can you do to take these kids? Wait lists, one of the programs that have been around a while, they're sitting at a year to get into wait lists. So doctors are saying this child needs residential treatment, everything else has failed, and they're still waiting a year. So during that time, kids are waiting, they're at home, they're in hospitals, trying to access family, so really struggling to find beds for these children and to match their needs. On the adult side, recently we had our consumer support program that we have partnered with for several years through Catholic Charities. They are closing in March, so that is a grant that we received from the state that requires us to do the consumer support services. So we are in conversations and trying to figure out who we can contract with or or do we bring that in-house? What do we do with that service that we are required to do by the state? A local intensive residential program that we've used for years is closing in St. Cloud along with St. Elizabeth with its board and lodge. So we are just seeing this decrease in beds, decrease in services. So we are still working it. We are still doing our best job, but with the lack of providers, we're really struggling.
Mr. Chair, Nikki, why is it lack of staff? Where are these providers going? I
think it's across the board. I think overall, I do believe it's lack of staff. St. Elizabeth's had a fire, and they're just choosing not to reopen, so that's one thing. But the other two are definitely lack of staff, trying to find other programs that the staff can go to, prioritizing different areas. The intensive residential treatment, they were without a clinical director for an extended period of time. Those staff that were there went over to crisis shelter, so they were just rehomed. And our crisis shelter is great. I think it has 9 beds now, which was an increase from 7 before. But and many times they'll say our max is 7 because we don't have the staff to do it.
Mr. Chair. Nikki, you were talking about that $75,000 grant. Was that a one-time grant then from the state?
It was a one-time grant.
That's too bad.
Yep, there was a second cycle. We did not get on it the first cycle, but then the second cycle we were able to access. We did get another grant through our Community Adult Mental Health Initiative, which is called a PATH grant. We'll bring that to the board at some point. We're just in contract negotiations at this point, but that is through our Community Adult Mental Health Initiative that will help do some funding and also has some direct access to it too, but not the significant amount we had with our CLI.
Yeah, they got a huge funding for that.
One-time funding, it's kind of normal, isn't it?
Yep.
Normal.
Pretty normal. Thank you, Nikki.
Yep, so I have Samantha Keeble here from Solutions, just to talk about a new program. So I've been talking a lot about these are things we're struggling with, these are things that are closing. Within the last couple of years, Solutions has been doing some really neat things in our community and for our children. They serve both kids and adults, and Samantha will talk about that. But just wanted to highlight an area that's going really well and kind of a new innovative approach.
Thanks, Nikki.
Thank you.
You have the floor, Samantha.
Good morning.
Morning.
For having me. I'm here to talk about our autism program. So we provide autism services through early intervention and developmental behavioral services through the state, which allows us to connect with these families and kids based off of assessments. We do run into the problem with providers. Assessments take a long time. These kids to get into programs need to have a psychological eval. We have companies in town that do that. We actually do that, but our wait lists are, 1 to 2 years out because there's so few providers. But the service is really wonderful because our goal is early intervention. So we can start seeing these kids anywhere from 18 months to 21 years old. In our clinic, we have a lot of individuals between the ages of 3 and 5, and our goal is to get them back into school where they need less school supports. So they're either in mainstream classes or they're in special education with less paraprofessional hours because we know that those individuals are hard to find in school settings too. Our program really wraps around the kids and the family. So we know that parents are change agents. We focus a lot on the family intervention as well. So we may have kids in our clinic anywhere up to 40 hours a week, and we might see families or the parents for 10 hours a week. So we do have kids that we provide services to for up to 50 hours a week. Like I said, we serve anywhere between 0 and 21. I consider our program hybrid. It's not just clinic-based. We have to generalize our skills into the home setting. To be honest, I don't care what a kid can do in our clinic. I want to know that they're going home at the end of the day and that they're able to function at home in a manner that just allows families to do the things that they want to do. So we're very excited to be able to provide those services. I will say we just built a brand new building. We've been in that building since May. Staffing is an issue, and staffing is an issue because of our reimbursement rates. We have rather low reimbursement rates, which means we can't pay staff maybe what they expect to be paid. And now we're competing with other industries that maybe start staff out at, $20, $25 an hour, and we're kind of stuck with the reimbursement rates that we have. So our wait lists are, we don't even call them wait lists, we call them referral lists. We have kids who have been on those lists for 2 years. I think we have a kid that's been on there, or a couple, actually, that have been on there since about 2022, which is really heartbreaking because skills are needed or these services are needed. But we're doing our best with what we have there. And then one of the other things that we're now building into our autism program is we recently got a grant from the state of Minnesota that will allow us to serve individuals that are on our wait list without having to go through the in-depth process of some of those evaluations that are needed. But we're excited to be able to provide those services. One of the other things that we're doing is lobbying our legislator to just do better and be better for our communities, working toward licensure for our board-certified behavior analysts, which will allow them to do a little bit more through insurance that we now rely on therapists to do. So that's about all I have. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions?
I will
appreciate your work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's fun work. We do have the capacity to serve 35 kids at a time, and with staffing and just where we're at right now, we have about 26 kids that we serve. Some of those kids have been with us for a couple of years. Some of them transition in and out a little bit quicker, but we're fortunate that we have other businesses coming to town that also provide these services too. So,
With the like central Minnesota here, what is the autism rate? Does anybody have a figure on that?
I don't know for sure. I know when I connect with other agencies that provide the same services, they're in the same boat where we have kids that they can't even get into the program because they need to have a psych eval, which is done by a licensed psychologist, and those wait lists are out pretty far. So I can't even give that. I know we get, when I look at our data, our referrals, there's, 20, 30 referrals a month for some of these programs and some of these services that we're not always able to manage. We do the best we can with telehealth. We have offices all across the state, so we utilize who we can, where we can. for some of those.
Mr. Chair, so do you work with the Department of Education through the schools at all with, because they have assessment programs too?
Yeah, generally their assessment programs aren't by licensed psychologists, so we're not able to use those. We do need IEPs, and we do need that assessment or those assessments from the schools when we do our treatment planning. But as far as them being done by licensed providers, they're not typically licensed providers, so then the state doesn't actually accept them.
Okay.
Mr. Chair? The percentage of the ones that are evaluated, how, are they all, do they all pass the test for being in that category?
Sometimes, yeah, we have a lot of individuals diagnosed with autism, and then there are several individuals that maybe aren't diagnosed with autism, but other neurological disorders, and then they can also qualify for programming too. It just looks a little bit different. We do a comprehensive multidisciplinary evaluation, which identifies the medical necessity, and that just determines how many hours a week a child might be eligible for services. So, and then part of the barriers there are transportation. Talked about transportation, getting a kid to the clinic. We do the best we can with what we have. We have case managers that'll go get kids in the morning, bring them home in the afternoon. That increases liability in other areas, but it is an intense service, so kids are required to be there generally for the amount of time that they're recommended.
Oh, that's a huge huge liability
Yeah.
to have staff do that.
It definitely is.
Well, we thank you for your work and continued support on that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Samantha.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. One question on Avivo, maybe you can answer it or not. The program that they do is, they said it's roughly 4 months that somebody stays there. What is the success rate that they actually get on their feet and moving forward? And maybe if you don't have that, we can get that later, Sandy?
Yeah, we can get that. I don't know the answer. She did say 4 months. I had heard 9. Nikki and I had heard 9 months before as the
Okay.
average stay. So that was a bit of an inconsistent, but we can ask that.
Okay. Great concept.
Yeah.
So, all right, moving on. I assume the next one would be probably rescheduled, but we'll let Chris.
Thank you.
So, we do need to reschedule the public hearing. It does require notice, published in the newspaper, and that didn't happen up until today, so. We have this is the first board meeting of the month, right? This is the beginning of the month.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can.
Vacation
pull it-
on?
7th then, maybe? May
Yeah, I
7th?
don't know if the second board meeting in April gives us enough time to.
Yeah, it'd be easy. Typically, it's 10 days, Chris. Right. So let's see. 1, 2.
So
Let's see here.
why wouldn't the second one work?
Let's see. 1, 2, 3,
It does need
4,
to be
5,
published
6,
for
7,
3
8, 9.
weeks.
Three
How many?
weeks.
Oh, 3 weeks.
Okay, that's why it's into May then.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not the typical 10-day window. Okay. Well, gosh, then you're looking at maybe then second meeting in May.
May 7th should.
Would-
Why, Monty, why would we have to go to the second?
I'm just thinking, logistically, of getting it to the newspaper. So today's Tuesday. It could potentially be in the Saturday, April 6th, Sock Rapids. It come out on Saturday, right, Tim?
Yeah, Saturday.
So the Saturday, the 6th. But the last publication, though, would be in the Tuesday, the 9th, Benton County News. So I would tend to go off the last publication.
1, 2, 3.
So the last publication would be the Tuesday, April 9th, Benton County News. So 1, 2.
So first meeting in May would work?
So that would work. Yeah, that would make then the first meeting in May work, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
We just do that, or do you need to have action on it?
No, we don't need action. We know what the date and time is. So
Okay.
roughly 9 o'clock on May 7th.
Perfect. That was an easy one.
And that will be correct me if I'm wrong, that will be a regular county board agenda item.
Yep.
If we could exploit Tim's presence, so is there time to get it to the Sock Rapids Shell and have it appear on Saturday the 6th?
Better hurry.
Better hurry.
Today.
Yeah.
Get a hold of them today and find out.
Yeah, so it's gonna be pretty tight, yeah, to get that.
But, Michelle, even if it was a 7th, that would still be a day that's included in the notice, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so-
we're good. Either way, right?
Should be.
Yeah.
I think the only thinking here is that somehow we can't make the 6th, and obviously your final, or your last publication date would be Saturday, April 13th. If it doesn't get into this 6th Sauk Rapids Herald. So, hopefully it gets in.
I can get it into the Sauk Rapids Herald, I just need to have it there by tomorrow at 4.
Who's that talking?
So then it's
Christine.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay, sorry.
Perfect.
Well,
All right.
Thanks, Christine.
yep, let's just make it work.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. For the first time ever, I'm done early.
Yeah. All right. With board approval, I think I'd like to step away from the county board meeting and conduct the Benton County Community Health Board.
Right.
All right.
Me.
Commissioner Heinen.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we'll, sorry. At this time, we'll start the Benton County Community Health Board meeting. Roll call, everyone's here. Approve or amend the agenda. I see we have something to add. Correct? Consider
Yes.
approval of the BCPF staff to submit application, correct?
Yep, for Strong Foundations additional funding. And then I have one more thing to add, which is just an announcement.
Okay.
I'll move approval with the added changes.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye opposed, motion carries. Consent agenda items 1, 2, 3. What would we like to do with that?
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion on those 3 items? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Jacqueline, consider the request for the Association of Non-Smokers.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
So before you this morning, I have a request from the Association for Non-Smokers Minnesota. They've reached out with a request for an agency representative from a commissioner or the sheriff's office to connect with Minnesota legislature regarding the importance of ending the sale of commercial flavored tobacco products. So bringing this before the board to see if there's any interest in that, in having a representative from our agency reach out. It would be via phone call, it sounds like. Or, you know, if the sheriff's office had interest, time, capacity-wise, to do something like that, if we would want to approve them to do that as well. I can give an update on where things are at. So I have an email here stating that the bill to end the sale of all flavored commercial tobacco products across the state and the bill to prohibit the sale of flavored cannabis that is burned, inhaled, or vaporized were both heard in the House of Commerce, Finance and Policy Committee on 3/25. The commercial flavored tobacco bill was laid over, which it's my understanding if a bill is laid over, it means that it was approved and it's being considered for final passage, but it has to be held for at least a day. And then the bill is given a 3rd reading prior to vote for final passage. And the bill for flavored cannabis was sent to the House Health and Finance and Policy Committee.
Okay.
So just reaching out to see if the board has any interest in placing a phone call. And if so, then I can send over the information for who to connect with.
Jacqueline, Commissioner Pop's got a question.
Oh, sure.
Well, considering when a bill's laid over, that means it has to go to another jurisdiction within the House or the Senate.
Right.
Yep, and so I think they're looking for it to have individuals calling in to see and being in support of that passage of that bill for it to
Yeah,
be
it'll get
reviewed.
another
Yep.
hearing.
Yep.
And I heard they aren't taking any more.
What?
I thought if it wasn't.
They're not taking any more bills, but they're still.
They still
The
got to
bill.
act
I've
on,
gone through hearings, I
Yeah.
thought they were.
they got to act on what they have in front
Yeah,
of them.
they gotta act
Okay.
on what they have.
Yep, so I think they're looking from what I heard from the Association for Non-Smokers Minnesota, is they're looking to have that rural voice heard in communities, especially where we've had success with flavored tobacco policy. So if there's interest in that, like I said, I can get that information over to whoever would like to call if that's the way we decide to go, or to notify Answer that we are not able to fulfill that request at this time.
Board,
Mr. Chair.
motion?
I guess I like to have people have their own choice.
Sure.
And I guess I wouldn't be the one that would, I guess, spearhead that down there. So,
I think at this point in time, it's probably between Jacqueline and me.
That's, yeah.
That's where you're gonna
Yeah.
go, right?
Yep.
I think this issue is before you because we wanted to make sure that there was sufficient consensus.
Yeah.
So for example, if a board member were to contact the legislature, you're speaking for Benton County.
For the board itself.
Does that authorization, does that consensus exist to speak for Benton County on this issue? That's what we're looking for.
Mr. Chair, I think our policy has the no flavors, correct? So,
Yeah, this bill is looking
Aaron,
to
support.
end the sale of flavored commercial tobacco products across the state of Minnesota, which kind of aligns with what our policy, you know, wanting to have it implemented in other communities to help continue to decrease that access. Absolutely, yep.
And the state is already talking about menthol anyway, getting rid of the menthol too.
So it would be a phone call, and I believe that Answer has also provided some talking points and some information, contact information, phone numbers, those sorts of things too, so.
Mr. Chair, I'm still back on the kick of,
Yep.
there's too many entities involved that you're never going to get it to fly through the state. There's too many, municipalities, counties that are not going to harbor the business. And I think that's where it stands on that. I think Sherburne County was looking at it at one point in time. I don't know what they're doing now.
Yes, they did. I think they just brought theirs back in March must have been. Or maybe even before that. I don't know what happened with that.
I don't
can
either.
follow
I don't
up.
know what happened
Yeah.
with it, but
You know, so, I mean, really, this is on the state.
Yeah.
it is.
You know, it's not on us, it's really on the state.
Well, it is and it ain't because it affects the counties,
Oh, yeah.
countywide, but it also affects municipalities and everything else. And I think it's a large scope of how they're gonna get everybody to agree to something. But I mean, granted, I would be totally in favor if they banned it statewide.
Well, but Mr. Chair, getting to Monty's point, I mean, if yourself or Jacqueline calls a state legislator, they're gonna be representing the full county board.
That is correct.
And so we've gotta have consensus on that.
Yep.
But we just allowed cannabis. I'm just sitting here going, I'm getting really confused on
Right.
why we're stepping in to this area when we just allowed cannabis statewide.
That's why I'm really leery about.
I'm not in favor of
I
it.
think this group is way, way ahead of what they should be, they're just trying to drum up support. And I don't know if it's even, my personal feeling is,
Well-
I don't think it's worth the time.
And Mr. Chair, I actually got, I'll say it, taken to the woodshed by my own group going up ice fishing over Super Bowl. Because we made a stop in Rice and 3 of them chew.
Yeah.
And they
couldn't
could
get-
not get flavored chew at that gas station. And the lady goes, well, it's our Benton County board. And I did the old, oh no. And I was right there.
Welcome to my world.
And it was, I mean, you look at it, I get what we're all trying to do. I don't chew, I don't smoke, I don't,
Right.
I don't do that stuff. But that's where I get to the point where I'm like, there are very few things that in this world that we get to make choices on. And I said this, I grandstanded on this when I was on the council, when it came to public garbage, like having one hauler. I mean, I support what we've done so far.
Yeah, I do too, but, so you could have went up to Royalton and at least stopped at Bill's, and at least Benton County could have got the sales tax money.
Yeah. Oh, I heard
If
it
you-
all the
if you
way
stop
to
at
Lake of the
Holiday, then
Woods.
it's gonna go to Morrison County.
Okay, what does the board wanna do with this then?
I'm not comfortable with
I think we just stand by the side and wait to see what happens.
Okay, that's consensus?
I guess I would have been willing to go with the county's decision since we approved that earlier.
Well, we'll be outvoted. It'd be 3-2, so we'll just go with the board. Sorry, Jacqueline, but
Yeah.
that's the
No,
board's
thank
decision.
you. Thank you for the board's discussion.
And I do believe,
Appreciate that.
Jacqueline, I do believe at some point in time, I think it will come to reality.
Yeah.
But I just don't see, I mean, that's a good example, what I heard for the last year and a half about the flavored tobacco and rice.
Yeah.
It just is not working we're a small number of businesses that do it. And that's what I told the Sherburne County Commissioners, that I said, be careful when you do it, because they're gonna go to Palmer, they're gonna go to these little outlets, and they're gonna hinder their business. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Mr. Chair, just to follow up on that, I totally agree with what the county
Yeah.
was doing and everything like that. But the major wrench that got thrown into this when the state allowed cannabis.
Sure, yeah.
And so now you're telling people that you can't have flavored tobacco, but you're allowed to get.
Higher than a
Yeah, higher than a kite, you know what I mean? It is what it is, yeah. So that's the only reason I'm backing off of it.
Yeah.
But because I think we're gonna run into some issues there.
I agree. The confusion is just,
Yeah.
doesn't make a lot of sense.
We're just gonna confuse it even more than it is.
It is confusing.
Yeah.
Yes, well, like I said, thank you for the discussion and definitely respect the board's opinion and kind of where we're at, so that's okay too.
Thank you.
I definitely think it's gonna come back.
Yep, we know it'll come back.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time. Thank you for that one. Next item, invitation to attend Central Minnesota Alliance orientation meeting.
Yes, so our Community Health Board and and County Administrator are invited to attend an upcoming orientation partner meeting with the Central Minnesota Alliance. The Central Minnesota Alliance is a partnership in which we complete for our Community Health Board, our Community Health Assessment, and our Community Health Improvement Plan. We'll be hosting a meeting on April 10th, which will be an orientation meeting. It runs from 9 to noon. It's at the Sauk Rapids Government Center, and would love for individuals to attend. This meeting will be a kind of a brief overview of what the Central Minnesota Alliance is. We're required, our Community Health Board by statute, to do a community health assessment and a community health improvement plan, which dictates what those health priorities are that we're going to work towards as a community health board. And this meeting will go over the partnership, what that process looks like for us in completing our community health assessment and improvement plan. And then also we'll do an introduction to our partner assessment, which is one of 3 assessments that we do in collecting information, data, partner feedback, as to what they're seeing being the top issues and drivers that are impacting health within our communities. At this meeting, you'll have a chance to kind of see a little bit of that public health work in action in connecting with those partners and that process, what that's going to look like. There'll be a couple of different activities with partners who are there. And so with that, I would just say, you're invited to attend, and I can forward via email if there's interest in the attendance at that orientation meeting.
I'll be there, Jacqueline.
What's the date?
It's
April 10th.
April
You can put
10th.
that on your Cal listing
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
April 10th.
Yep. And there is a virtual option for that meeting as well. However, I would highly recommend if you're going to go in person.
Yes.
You're going to get a lot more out of it, and you'll get a chance to kind of meet some of the other individuals in the partnership, and kind of learn a little bit about how we go about completing our community health assessment, which is a pretty big assessment of community needs, and then developing that plan for the next cycle. So.
And Mr. Chair, Jacqueline, you'll send that email out to us as a.
Yes, yep, I'll send out that email, and you'll see the email invitation will come from a partner at Sherburne County as we do our assessment in conjunction with Sherburne, Stearns, and CentraCare, so.
Okay.
Great, thank you for that, Jacqueline.
Thank you, Jacqueline.
Okay, next, consider approval for the BCPH staff to submit application to receive additional funding for evidence-based family home visiting.
Yes, so this was an email. We received notification on Thursday, the 28th, after agenda cutoff deadline, that we have met eligibility requirements to apply for increased funding to do our family home visiting services. We've been meeting capacity with target caseloads, the benchmarks that have been set by the grant through family home visiting for Strong Foundations, which is one of the 3 funding sources we use primarily to fund our family home visiting programs and staff. So with that, I would just request approval that we can submit an application for this additional funding from Strong Foundations.
No brainer.
Yeah,
Mr. Chair.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any more discussion on this one? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Jacqueline, do you want to talk a little bit about how well that went? That public health did at the Foley School?
Oh, the Foley Community Connect
Yes.
Expo. Yes, it went very, very well. Actually, I have scheduled for one of the Foley Community Connect Expo team members to come and give a deeper update on that at a future board meeting. They did some data collection for the event, had lots and lots and lots of vendors, a lot of positive feedback coming back from community and how successful that it was. And kind of, they had some different activities for kids. They had lots of county staff present from both public health and human services. They had the Hidden in Plain Sight exhibit, which we're considering setting up somehow for county staff to potentially look and see, because we heard some feedback from that, which is an exhibit that kind of you walk through. It shows you all of the different ways in which tobacco products and devices can be hidden in plain sight from parents. And so it's an exhibit for individuals over a certain age to kind of go through and get education on what to watch for within, bedrooms and within schools and things like that. So I will have someone coming back to give a more concrete update on that, but it went well. So
Good, thank you. I went through it with my wife too, and my wife knew more people than I did there. And I'm going, okay.
Yep, they had great attendance. I know we were shooting for 200.
Cars all over, wasn't there? Holy manners,
Yep.
I couldn't believe how many cars in the parking lot.
Yeah, the parking lot was full, and I know they surpassed the goal of 200 individuals. But they also had, meal kits, meal kits available, clothing items, lots of donations, and just various activities and resources available. So.
Okay.
I also want to share one other thing before you leave, Jacqueline. Adam Merton sent me an email. Said it was a nice video. They created a nice video that was created to celebrate the success of an E1MN collaboration between the Foley School District and our very own Amy Meyer. So it's on YouTube. So I'll make sure we can get all that forward so everybody can watch that. It's pretty nice video on YouTube. I wanted to share that too. So, anything else, Jacqueline?
Yep, just lastly, I just wanted to share with our Community Health Board that this week is National Public Health Week. This week each year is National Public Health Week. This is a time where, public health is honored and celebrated across the nation. This year's theme is selected by the American Public Health Association. It's Protecting, Connecting, and Thriving. We are all public health. So the APHA states that the focus is not just on the ways that public health serves our communities, by protecting our access to clean water and air, to protecting and having available nutritious and safe foods, to the right and ability to access health services, but we celebrate the ways our communities flourish when they have their needs met. Everything from basics of safe and healthy schools to the tools that connect us, even when we're miles apart. During this week, the message is that everyone should know that they can make a difference in their communities, and they can make their communities healthier, safer, and stronger when we support and stay engaged with one another. So I just wanted to take a moment during our Community Health Board meeting to say a thank you, to highlight and to recognize the efforts of our public health staff and the important role that they play in protecting the health of individuals and communities. And also just a big thank you to our Community Health Board and recognizing the work that you all do each and every day in really protecting and promoting the health of Benton County, our residents, and fostering that community where individuals can live, work, play, and grow. So thank you and happy Public Health Week.
Thank you for everything you do, Jacqueline, for us.
Thank you.
Is there anything else? If not, we'll adjourn Public Health Community Health Board at 10:32. Turn it over to the board chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Heinen. All right, we'll move right into commissioner meeting updates. Who would like to start?
I'll start.
All right.
Since I was on vacation last week, I had 3 meetings the week prior to that. Our Highway 23 Coalition Board meeting, just a couple highlights. I think you guys have noticed the 4 lanes for you signs. There's going to be additional one in Marshall and then one up in Moron. So
Nice.
those are going to be up and running for, I believe, the next 14 to 16 months. So those will be in place.
Mr. Chair, so are they going to, like the ones that they have at, they got one just north of Wilmer and they.
Yep, to my knowledge, those are staying.
Staying?
These are rental ones like from Lamar. It's
Yeah.
a billboard.
Oh,
So we're
okay.
actually renting that space.
I see, okay.
So they're large billboards. And also on March 21st, we had our ditch subcommittee meeting, which I thought went pretty well. It was a good discussion for well over 2 hours.
It was long.
Thank you for
A
that.
lot about you as we were doing that, but it was good discussion. So anyways, that's all I had since I was gone last week.
Yep, I guess that, I agree with Mr. Johnson, that the ditch, it went well. And we set some parameters, we set some, we're gonna have some ground rules and stuff like that, so I think going forward, we will probably maybe be able to compact our ditch authority meetings, so. So I had, on the 19th, I did have library board meeting. we had to do the audit, got that part done. I guess the big thing that we did is we had budget presentations. The budget came back, and even as it stood, what was presented, we were gonna have a little bit of a discount because Wright County had a huge increase. Like, you know, their tax capacity grew, their population grew, everything grew on them. And the rest of the board wasn't happy with the percent. They were at 2.98% increase on theirs, and their budget currently stood at 2,367,000. And so if they had a 2.9% increase, you can do the math. It was pretty. So they came back and they want to get that back under. So Wright County will be back under 2%. And in that turn, it's going to eliminate ours. We're going to get another bigger discount because it is. And the other one that was in there, Morrison had a slight uptick in their cost. And so everybody will be negative, but Wright County will have a substantial increase of, I think they're hoping to get it under a couple $100,000.
Do you have an estimate, Commissioner Pop?
No, I don't. I tried doing the math, and we were $2,890 was our how much less we're gonna have, and I wouldn't doubt whether it could be somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 when we're done.
I really struggle with, and I know you guys are doing the best you can on that board, but when it comes to communities growing and counties growing, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And why, if that's the formula, why do we gotta drop back down? Because if it was Benton County, would they be doing that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we had the same fight at the APO with Sartell. Sartell kept on saying that it's not fair. I'm like, all I said is, well, why don't you give 10,000 of your residents to Sauk Rapids, and they'll take that extra tax base and pay that little bit of APO money.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And we are
It's all
using
formula-based.
reserves to pull it down, but you gotta remember that the reserves were built with all counties, not
Exactly.
just
I would
Wright
just make sure that we make a point that when Benton County grows,
County. Yeah,
we better be getting that same
yeah. I mean,
tap on the back.
Wright County, Stearns County dropped one member on the board because of the formula didn't work, and Wright County gained a person.
So they gained a person and go down.
Well, they'll go down in their total cost. They're
In their
still gonna
total
have
cost.
they're still gonna have to cough up a pile of money, but
Yeah.
it seems to be, I think the feeling is that Stearns or Wright County is in a cost-cutting mode.
Yeah.
Their commissioners want, they'd prefer a zero levy increase across the board.
How many libraries do they got compared to Benton County?
Oh, they must got 5, 6, and we got 1.
Yeah.
But so does, Morrison County's got 6 and we got 1.
What does the formula show you what their per capita cost is?
Yeah, it does. If you dig into it, no, I don't know if it shows what the per capita, but it tells their net tax capacity.
Cause ours is roughly $100
Yeah,
per person that's using the library.
that's using the libraries. I don't
It's
know.
identified as being using the
Users, cause
library.
there's user tax capacity population.
Mhm.
That are all into the formula. So it was a long discussion, and I think part of it was last year we did the same for Sherburne County. And so then Sherburne County said, yeah, we can support this because you did it for us last year. So we always have that in our back pocket. Okay, we did it for these counties, now let's do it for Benton when it comes to that point. And we do have reserves. I mean, there's $400,000 or $500,000 that was unused allocation this year because of that staff wasn't there. And I'm not big into rolling it into, we roll a certain amount into increasing library hours at some library or doing this, but if we didn't use it, let's put it back in the budget.
Well, and wasn't that dollar significant a few years ago?
Oh, we were at
7 million, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So, and we're still
this-
significant.
The same year that we had a 500
Increase. Yeah.
But how big an increase that year?
Yeah, 50-some thousand.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, it's challenging, I didn't go to the meeting in January because I was gone, and I come back and I'm the finance chair again, so. So, make sure you show up.
Make sure you attend all meetings.
Yeah, right.
No, I just wanna make that point because I think.
I agree with, that's a good point to have. And then the day after, or no, that would have been last Tuesday, I testified before the Senate this time. So I've got both the Senate and the House done for this year, which is, that was actually I don't know, they had so many bills, and the bills prior to us and Commissioner Reinhardt from Ramsey County. There was a lot of questions and everything asked, and we had a whole list of questions they were gonna ask, but the chair decided that we're really running short on time. They're only allowed X number of hours to have that committee hearing room, because then the next committee comes in. And so she kinda cut them off and there was no questions, and I will give Senator Putnam credit, so he came to the back and says, so here's the questions I had, for you that I didn't get a chance to ask.
That's good.
He's in support of the SCORE grant coming back. They only asked for 4% more, because if you ask for everything, you're gonna get nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
It seems, so if we could get that down another 3%, would be from, 27 to 23, 24% that they're gonna keep. That's still a large amount of money.
There's still a large
It's
amount of money.
huge that they're putting in the general fund.
Right.
So we keep working on that, and I probably was because of the chair of AMC's Environment and Natural Resources, why they ask.
Yeah.
So.
Good job.
And
Good job.
If you follow Victoria, you don't get a lot of time. I mean, she's a great person with a lot of knowledge, and she is retiring this year too, so.
Okay.
That was all that I had. Then, of course, we had our leadership conference. I thought was really good.
Okay, next, okay. So I did attend that Housing Summit meeting, Friday the 22nd. It was actually a very good meeting. Same old, sorry, I've been to 4 of these. What I did like though is they had, tables set up and you had assigned seating. So you had 2 commissioners at a table, 2 city staff members at a table,
Okay.
you had developers at a table. It was actually very good. So Mr. Schultz was at our table. And through this whole process, we're gonna be talking to Amanda with BEP to try to set up a meeting with a couple of developers and just have a really good conversation, a serious conversation, of what we can do better and actually get the developers' input. Because every time I've been to these summits, they've never truly had input, from these developers. So it was very good. Let's see, I went to that community expo on Saturday. That was very good with public health. Grandview Lodge, of course, for that leadership, and that was a very good conference, probably one of the better ones I've attended. I've attended 4 of them already, so. And then I also got elected chair of the Regional 3 Leadership Planning Board meeting. It's affiliated with 11 counties. This goes from Monticello area all the way to Wilmer area, so all of the counties in that area. Let's see, I think that's all I had.
Getting back to your housing conference, one of the things you brought up was kind of went back to how we initially got going on this was the Otter Tail big build.
Correct.
And that was brought up.
Yeah, and that was brought up at that meeting too, actually. And then they also brought up what, shoot. They did this down in the Mayo area. Help me out, Sheila.
Yeah. Homestead? Homestead
No.
County?
It could have been.
Kisker,
Yeah, it was Sheila.
Sheila
His
Cascade,
Carcadian,
yeah,
yes.
she's in
Crusade,
Olmsted.
Olmsted, yeah. Olmsted County did that too, but they also had $30 million of grant money, and then the Mayo threw in another 4, so they had a lot of stuff. And what's working there actually is working, but you gotta throw a lot of money at it. So, but very good information though. Okay, that's all I had, thank you.
I was at the AMC leadership training too, and the housing summit. Also, I went down to the homeless day at the Capitol. It was a really good turnout down there.
Okay. Anything else?
I think that was it.
I was on vacation, but I did have a medical services board meeting last week. Attended that, and some of the big things that came out of that were they did buy 3 Lucas tools, the CPR machines that they're gonna be in our region. People will be able to throw in for a grant to get those machines. It's about $58,000, that they used for grant money that was gonna be expiring if we didn't use it. So that was good, continuing on getting more support on funding for that board. Benton County is pretty lucky, we don't have a lot that comes on that side of things, but, I know, City of Foley gets a little bit, the Foley Fire Department. Hopefully they can get some of this, Narcan that is, nasal versus the.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I've been really on them about that. Did go to BEP, that was a great meeting.
Was it?
Yeah, it was really good, so, there was quite a few people there, I mean.
It's usually pretty well attended.
Yeah, but, I know we're still working on, Amanda's assistant.
You know, they had interviews yesterday, but I didn't hear how it went.
Okay.
I think there was some ideas that were brought up, hopefully she can act on those. Other than that, that's all I've got. All right, committees of the whole.
I think the only one we want to add was the one that Jacqueline mentioned, the Central Minnesota Alliance Orientation Meeting. That's April 10th, 9 to noon, Sauk Rapids City Hall. So that's the only thing that we have to add. And just a reminder, your committee of the whole tomorrow starts at 8 a.m.
And Mr. Chair, I don't know if it's appropriate, but can we maybe have some discussion about if we're going to do an employee luncheon and when that would be? Calendars fill up?
Calendars are filling up.
I guess I had a thought, and it's only a thought, that we would
Push
maybe
it
look
out,
at
man.
that we would look at potentially the second meeting in May, move it up this year.
Second meeting in May, so the 20th.
21st.
21st.
I'm still in the crops, that's.
Okay.
That
It's
would
my
be
birthday.
my only downfalls that I'm into. Still
Okay.
probably planting.
First one. in
Is
June.
that something we can talk about tomorrow?
Sure.
Yeah.
We add that to the cow tomorrow?
No,
No, we can't? Okay.
can't amend the agenda, sorry.
Well, we can.
And we don't have to decide now.
No, we don't.
Oh, okay.
I just, you know,
I'll ask my wife.
I don't want it to be June and we're talking
I'm
about
s-
trying to
supposed
push the
be
date.
gone, cause it's my birthday, so.
Yeah. Just look at your calendars, look at some dates and maybe let Monty know.
What day works the best? I mean, Fridays during the summer months, we have a lot of staff that's out, so.
Yeah.
Well, we typically have done it after a board meeting.
After a board meeting.
After board.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be though. I mean, that's just what we've done.
That's true.
So,
The 4th of June would work.
If we do it after the board meeting and we do chicken again, we're gonna have to get our right-hand person there.
Chucky
to-
boy, keep
Yeah,
going.
to take, a little shout out to Chuck Caproth, but he'd have to get everything rolling while
Okay.
we're in here, so.
so just something to think about.
Something to think about.
So we're
Yeah,
not trying to
I
force
agree,
it
get
into
it
a
done.
calendar at some point.
But at least if you generally agree it's gonna be the same day as a board day,
Yeah.
I think
that
so.
kinda narrows it down, so,
You've
yeah.
done it
Makes
the
sense.
day is the board day beforehand.
Mm-hmm. The last two, I think we have.
Yeah.
Oh, there, one was on a Monday.
One was, you're right, one was on a Monday.
Yeah, so last year it was a Monday, I thought.
And that's
I
the
thought we were
21st
trying to
of
avoid,
May
cause
is
I
Monday.
don't seem to
What-
be
could
going
we-
right into that after board.
Could we
meeting.
potentially talk about the 28th? It's a Tuesday, but it's after Memorial Day. It's not a board meeting day, but that late enough? Still gonna be-
It's late enough, but a lot of people will probably take some vacation and,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
you know, that. I
we
like
do?
the board meeting, the board meeting after the date because a lot of people will,
The 28th of May,
yeah,
that's not a board meeting day
No.
though.
no.
You'd have to get into June 4th.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have to get. But
4th to
28th,
the 18th, yep,
We have employee forum that morning, but
yep.
we can move that.
Well, if
An awful
if May
lot.
21st is the board meeting, then I've gotta be here, so,
it is the board meeting.
yeah, it is. I know, I just looked at my calendar, I apologize.
There might
I'm
be a
okay with it.
might
But
be a
he's still in the field.
conflict-
That's
potential conflict with
depending on
Commissioner
how
Pop.
things go.
Well, I don't think we have to set it right now.
Nope.
But let's make sure we get some dates.
Yep.
Maybe Tim can join us too for lunch.
Shave his legs and put a mini skirt on him and he can be a server.
Yeah.
No comment.
All right.
That's all we have.
That's all
But
we
you
have.
did, motion, could you-
Motion to approve the cow.
yeah.
Second.
there one.
All right, you got a motion and a second to approve the call. All in favor? Aye. All right. Any other things before the county board? If not, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, we're adjourned at 10:49.
We want to dispense with ditch authority? Yep, right over.
Yep,
Get it right
we'll go
down.
right in there, 'cause
We'll
it's
call to
gonna be
order
quick.
the Benton County Ditch Authority meeting. Again, all are here under the roll call. Approve or amend the agenda. Any additions, Chris? Anything changing?
No, just as a point of order, since it was on the agenda, should it be noted in these minutes that the conducted public hearing was moved to the regular, agenda meeting? That's the only thing I would suggest.
That's a good point. Yeah, we'll move that, item 3 under conduct the public hearing will be moved to the May 7th Ditch Authority meeting.
County board.
County board,
Ordinance
yes, thank
issue,
you.
right, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, it needs to be
board.
county board action, yeah, so.
Okay. Anything else with the agenda? Okay, your motion?
So moved.
Second. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed is carried. Consent agenda item, approve or amend the meeting minutes from March 5th of 2024.
Move approval.
Second. Motion second to approve that item. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, it's carried. Anything else, Chris?
I don't have any